And the idea is that for it to be, you know, a conversational sort of thing. Okay, I believe we're live on the Free Switch YouTube channel now. And so I'd like to welcome anybody that's joining us along. You're here at the Clucon Cafe. This is our regular meetup. We're here every Friday at 10 a.m. Central, whatever that might be in your individual time zone. And we just get together in order to chat about things in the world of VoIP and WebRTC. And anybody's welcome to join us. And let me tell you how you can join us if you're watching on YouTube and you'd like to come into the room and chat with us. You'd come to clucon.cantina.video/rooms/Clucon Cafe. And that's all one long thing, and you would be able to join us. But right now, here with me on the top left, we've got Seven Du in China. How are you doing today, Seven?
Yeah, I'm good.
Good. It's very good to have you along. We've got a little bit of a delay all the way from. Yeah, we can hear you fine, Seven. There's just a little bit of a delay because I'm speaking live from Brazil. You're in China, and I'm guessing even with the speed of light, there's a little bit of a delay there.
Okay.
And then directly above me, we've got Piotr. How are you doing today, Piotr? And where are you speaking to us from?
Good morning. Well, I'm speaking from Basingstoke, UK.
Basingstoke, UK. Okay. To me, that sounds a very average place to be because I'm from England and I used to live near Basingstoke. But it's a very nice part of the world, nice countryside in Hampshire down there.
Yes, it's a nice place.
Yeah, okay. And then over here, hold on, there, it's Daniel. How are you doing today, Daniel?
Doing well. After finishing or getting close to the end of this week, which was quite busy for me in particular, but also for the Kamailio project. So, and I'm joining from Berlin as usual. Yeah.
Excellent. It's good to have you along. And I did feel slightly bad when I contacted you about joining us today because I knew this was a very busy week for you. So what we'll do, Daniel, is we'll allow you to relax for a couple of minutes and I'll talk to Piotr first and then we'll come over to you because I'm very interested. I came along and watched a number of the Kamailio World presentations and very much enjoyed that. And so we'll come to you and talk about that in a moment. But Piotr, I wonder if we could start with you today. And I know you've been one of the main people involved in the recent library for Stir Shaken. And I wondered if you could perhaps tell us a little bit about it and also the problem that it sets out to solve.
Yes, that's true. Thank you very much for pointing that, for that brief introduction, David. Yes, I've been involved in Stir Shaken, and we at Signal we prepared a lib Stir Shaken, which implements Stir Shaken. Stir Shaken is a technology for making secure calls for filtering out robocallers and spam. So we would like to bring this possibility to make secure calls to SignalWire users and to anyone who would like to use that technology, because we made it open source library. You can download library from SignalWire's repository on GitHub and just use it.
And I understand. Sorry, I was just going to say that although you created it and it's available in the Free Switch GitHub repository, I believe it's such a sort of a generic library that anybody could take it and implement it to go with whatever project they might choose.
Yes, that's correct. Stir Shaken itself is a C library that is completely open, and you can just grab it from GitHub and implement your own Stir Shaken solutions on top of that. And yeah, actually, I got something prepared. I can show on my screen that maybe will help to explain what I'm going to talk about. So
okay, if you would like to go ahead and try and share your screen, I will try and organize to get it into the right place so that everybody can see it.
Thank you very much, David.
Okay, and in fact, there it is. So if you talk, we should see you come up in the picture. I'll go quiet. And then when you've finished, if you turn your screen share off, we'll come back to the pictures with you,
Yeah.
Daniel, and Seven.
Lovely. Thank you very much, David. Yeah, we got to the key points in Shaken anyway, so that's why I thought maybe it's going to be useful if I just share my screen. What's happened in Stir Shaken from the ClueCon, because most of you probably saw my presentation on ClueCon. I assume that I'm mostly speaking to people already familiar in Stir Shaken.
I think that's a reasonable assumption, but
Yeah.
just in case there are any people that are new to Stir Shaken, feel free to give overview information as well.
Yes, I got something for these people as well. For those of you who are very new to Shaken, I already said that this is for making secure calls. So maybe I simply present how making such calls may look like. Here we got a free switch, and on this console I got another free switch, and we also have a Cantina user that is registered, a WebRTC user that is registered to the terminating free switch. So I will make a call from this one to that one, and the call is going to be authenticated with. Well, first I make a standard call, so it's not going to be authenticated with Stir Shaken, and we will see how it looks like. This is a command for making such a call, and here I assign a caller ID to that call. We'll see this is going to be displayed in a WebRTC, and the call is not going to be authenticated with Stir Shaken because this is our starting point. The call has been made, and we see that we receive a call. It's from that caller ID.
The untrusted one.
Yeah, and we see that the call has not been authenticated because there was no information about the caller. That means that the call has not been authenticated by Stir Shaken, and the call is as secure as your solution for making the call is, and as much as you trust all the intermediate points on its way. But you can also gain some more security if you add Stir Shaken to that, like this one. This example will show us. It's exactly same, apart from here I change caller ID to be trusted demoer because I'm going to apply security measures by protecting call with Stir Shaken. I set a Stir Shaken variable to true. And this will make free switch implementation of Stir Shaken, which is using lib Stir Shaken to authenticate the call. So this call will be secure call.
Okay.
And now we can see that the caller has been verified, and we can trust that the number that has been displayed, trusted demoer, is indeed a trusted demoer. That this is the data that we received in a passport that it was traversing with a call was the same data that has been created on this free switch. That this data hasn't been changed by any means, and that this free switch has signed that data. So if we only trust that free switch, that party who is in possession of this free switch, this originating service provider, then we trust the call, and we have a means of checking it, and we can check that with by verification of a passport, and this works by checking whether the certificate of this provider has been signed by some authority that we trust.
Okay, all right. So if I can just ask a question for a minute.
Everything is already in Stir Shaken, so all these steps have been performed here with call authentication. You do not need anything very special about it. You will find all that is needed to provide this functionality in libstir-shaken. I can also explain what was going on in more details here if it's of interest.
Yes, if you can do that in a couple of minutes, feel free to go ahead.
Yeah, so this is here we can see verification part of a call, and just very briefly, we see that we found a SIP identity header here. That thing. It's been sent with a SIP invite. So we found a link to the certificate. The link is embedded here in SIP identity header, but in fact, it should be taken. It's always present in a passport itself. So basically, this thing is not very useful for us, but it is there. So we can read there, and we just display a message that we take this. You can see it here. SIP identity header has info params, so the remote password will likely be verified against this certificate, but we will use X5U really from the passport. And this is what we've done. We then decoded passport and just base64 decoded it, not verifying it yet, but just decoded to get a link to the passport, to the certificate. We've downloaded it, and then we verified that passport here.
Right.
We check that it's okay. We check the data is fine, and the last step we compared the caller ID from the passport, that one, to the caller ID from the SIP, and we found that it matches. So it's good.
Excellent. All right. Would you care to turn your screen share off now, Piotr, and we'll get you back in the full room, as it were.
Yes, but may I take two more minutes, David?
Yes. Sorry. Go ahead.
I only explain what that is to those people new to Shaken. So I hope
my apologies.
You could have now some understanding how that verification with Shaken may look like. But what about stir-shaken itself and libstir-shaken for what's happened in what's new from Clucon? Well, in libstir-shaken we added support for SSL, and so you can now use HTTPS with everything, like both CA process that is part of libstir-shaken, everything that is libstir-shaken now supports SSL. And we added some more commands to the utility tool called stir-shaken. You can now generate passport with this command, passport create. This functionality has always been there, but it has just not been exposed to anyone who would like to use it via this command line utility. So it has been added as a convenience method to create a passport if you want to have a look at the passport. Like, for example, you want to generate. If you want passport with some other data, because you can see it doesn't take all those data to any headers nor payloads, because it's just hard-coded. So you would need to change it, or maybe we will change it later. For now, it's just for generating reference passport. There is also a command for checking JWT that will involve HTTP GET. Previously, we only had a method that would check JWT against a public key. Now it has been renamed to JWT key check, and we now have also JWT check for a plain check that will do everything. So as you can see, it only takes an encoded version of passport. It gets it decodes it. It gets a link to the certificate. It downloads certificate and verifies it against public key from that certificate. And we also added folder with examples. You can go to those examples, libstir-shaken examples, and you will find examples here. There is just one for now. There will be more. This one is for authentication service, so you can see how easy it is to use libstir-shaken to create your own authentication verification service and whatever. more you like to write on top of that. We added a new block. In this block, we explain how you can implement authentication service, and there will be more blocks that will explain how you can write your verification service, and maybe more. And what's happened in Stir Shaken itself? I think the most important thing is that there is a lot of talk now about out-of-band Stir Shaken, and this is something also that is also interesting for us at SignalWire. However, we're not sure yet if we are going to get involved in that and provide a solution for that or not. We are working now on that. We are researching, and managers will take a decision. And finally, just one thing. I can stop sharing my screen now. There is just one thing I wanted to clarify. Last time I had the pleasure to talk.
Do you want me to stop your screen share?
I think you have to, because that button doesn't show up for me. So.
Okay, let me do that now. Okay, we're back in the room now. And we got Fred joined us as well. Hello, Fred. We'll come and chat to you in a moment. But yeah, carry on, Piotr.
I wanted to clarify that what was the size of a passport, because I've been asked that question and I didn't answer that question too much detail. So the passport is roughly 400 bytes. If it's in an encoded version and it's basic version of passport, like the one you could see on the verification service, that will have a couple of headers, those basic headers, 4 headers, and basic payload without without many extensions, because there is a lot of extensions you can put there. So I'm talking about basic version of passport, like the one I showed you, with caller ID and destination point and reference to a call, and that's it, and attest, and the attest of call. This will be like 400 bytes, and if it's inside a SIP identity header, which was a question about, that would be like 450 bytes or 500 most.
Okay, so thank you for that comprehensive answer.
Thank you very much.
We've got Sandro as well joining us. Hi, Sandro. Just talking to Piotr about Stir Shaken at the moment. I have a quick question, and maybe other people have questions as well, but I'll jump in with mine first. So the implementation that's been done in FreeSwitch, is that just for using FreeSwitch as an endpoint to make or receive calls, or is it also using FreeSwitch for the on-bound transmissions of calls in a Stir Shaken environment?
I'm not sure I understand your question. The current FreeSwitch implements authentication and verification service, so you can use it for making a call and for verifying a Stir Shaken call. Yeah, so you can make you can make calls protected with Stir Shaken, and you can verify calls protected with Stir Shaken.
Great.
So
Hi, Matthias.
Hello.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much, Piotr. That was my question. Does anybody else got questions for Piotr on the Stir Shaken stuff? Go ahead, Daniel. Oh wait, you're still muted at the moment, Daniel.
Yeah, I'm also familiar a little bit with Stir Shaken, maybe not advanced as Piotr, but from my point of view, as I implemented a different solution for Kamailio, a major concern would be this management of the certificates, because practically you get the call from an interconnect partner, whatever, and there is a reference to the certificate to be used for validation.
Yes.
Do you have like a local storage caching, or you do it always on the fly? Because doing always on the fly is like making an HTTPS connection, which relies on DNS or not, but maybe the other server it's down and can add delay to call establishment. So how did you work with this one?
Sure. Yeah. Good question, Daniel. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. That's questionable. That's something that needs a lot of standardization. At this moment, it's left to the. It's believed that the originating service provider will put it into direction where it's going to be accessible from, and the originating service provider puts the link to that location in the passport, right? The link to the certificate is in the passport. It hits the terminating server, and it should be downloaded from there. We don't make any assumptions whatsoever about how how it's going to be possible. We just assume that yes, this will work. So wherever link points to in the passport, we should be able to download certificates without any special treatment, without any special permissions and so on. It should be accessible, and I don't think that there is anything special that would prevent that, because you see, it's just a public certificate, right? The reason that you need the certificate is only because you need a public key of the service.
No. The idea is now how the interconnects work in the VoIP port. It's not that dynamic. Eventually, this will allow a little bit more dynamic peering in the future. Now, somehow, we trust each other because you interconnect by, I know, matching on source IP with these partners, and you expect to be trusted. But could be also like an outage of their HTTP service where they have these public certificates for downloading. So I was a little bit concerned. Could be, if for whatever reason the link that comes into the passport pointing to the public certificate, you can't really fetch quickly that certificate because, again, we are engineers. We get downtimes suddenly. We don't plan them. And for the implementation in Kamailio, I was also thinking to put some caching and, take it at once, save it also locally, eventually use it for a configurable amount of time.
Of course. All sorts of solutions, like you mentioned, is possible. So catching would definitely be a good option.
That doesn't mean that I did it, but it was more like seeing your brain where leads on this direction. I think I have the option in my library, which I wrote in Go, to give it from the config file in case of Kamailio, either like take it from the HTTP URL or get it from local file storage, and the option to save it and so on. But this was something that I wanted to see how you was thinking about this approach. Thank you.
No worries at all. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your question, Daniel. Any other questions on stir shaken for Piotr while we're here? Okay, if you've got questions from on YouTube Live, just if you can either pop them in the comments, if there are comments, I'm not sure, or jump into the room, because under the YouTube Live video, there is a link for people to jump into this very room. And we had Matthias join us. Hello, Matthias. How are you doing?
Hello.
Good to have you along, Matthias.
Yes,
you
hear
are.
me?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine. Whereabouts are you joining us from?
Okay, from France.
From France?
Yes, west of France.
Excellent. A very, very international flavour. Thank you for being here. I would like to talk to Kamailio folk about their conference, which just happened this week. And just happily, by coincidence, we've got Fred in the top left, Daniel underneath, and Sandro underneath that. We got like the Kamailio side of the conference there. Now, you organised it, Daniel, and I know Fred was instrumental as well. So I'm going to start with Sandro, because I know he participated in the conference. And Sandro, I wonder if you could just give us a few words about your experiences at Kamailio World online this time.
Hi. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, can hear you fine.
Oh, my experience with Kamailio World. Well, the server did go down when during our introduction, but through the hard work of Daniel and Fred, I think as well, we got another server to work with.
I think we've got to put that in the category victims of your own success for having so many people that wanted to jump on.
We can.
Exactly.
I can give you a brief overview on that, just because it wasn't a. I mean, it was my fault. I didn't limit the room, so too many people came in for that would allow for streaming properly, and then it couldn't restream because by that time I had locked the room, and with Jitsi Meet, you can't stream when there's a password on the account.
Right.
And it's something I learned right then. And as we all know, as Daniel just said a couple minutes ago, with the, we don't plan outages. Learning under pressure like that is not the quickest way to learn. It's a great way to learn. It's something I'll never forget. And so I'm very glad for the lesson. But it certainly took me a good 30, 45 minutes to figure that one out. So on that one, Sandro, I'm eternally apologetic, but it was completely my fault.
Okay, thanks for that, Fred. But it didn't detract from a very, very successful conference. Sorry, I'll hand back to you, Sandro. Carry on.
Oh yeah, but it was a nice, very, very good conversation, I think, with Ollie. There's a lot that there was a lot more that could have been said as well. So it was like an introductory chat, but I'm sure if we were to meet again, we could spend hours discussing the finer details of things that we started discussing about Kamailio security, SIP security, working from home, how it affects the security of your communications, your real-time communications, what we actually think about WebRTC security, based on past experience, of course, of Ollie and myself. Yeah, that was...
Yes, I watched some of that session. This was the one with you, Ule, and Daniel, wasn't it? A sort of a three-way conversation that went on. Yeah, very, very edifying. And of course, I watched Fred's presentation as well, and a good number of others. In fact, let's jump up to you in the top corner, Fred. How did you find it? Aside from the strain of being one of the organizers and having to do multiple things, how was it for you?
Well, again, I mean, I'm very grateful for all the accolades here. I didn't do anything. Daniel did like 99%. I tried to help run a Jitsi instance, and clearly didn't do it perfectly, especially Sandro knows how much I want to watch his stuff, and so instead of getting to watch it, I was learning. I was taking an advanced course in YouTube streaming on Jitsi. I loved it. I am sad to miss so many people from all these conferences. It's the highlight of my years is going, each year the highlight is to travel and see so many people from this community. I've mentioned ad nausea how much this community means to me, and it doesn't matter what project you're on. This community is a fantastic community, and we're very lucky to have it. And we, for the most part, people are just helpful and nice, and the community contains so many people that I care about that it's hard not to actually be in the same room with them every now and then. I love the conference aspect. So even a virtual Kamailio world was so fantastic after, the COVID decided to make it a little difficult for the planning that Daniel had done for the physical conference. And so I am so grateful to have seen people and even chat with them on Matrix and get people together was a great selfish joy for me.
Oh, well, That's great to hear. And you mentioned being interested in what Sandro had to say. And I just want to use that as a little plug that we just recorded a ClueCon Weekly with Sandro today for future release that's packed with good stuff, including a full-on description of a particular kind of attack that Sandro is highlighting and how that can be mitigated against. So very useful stuff coming out there. Let me hand over to you, Daniel, to talk a bit more about Kamailio World. And I know that as part of it, not only did you have a lot of great sessions, but you also had the celebration of the 19 years. I know because I joined in that for a time as well. So I wonder if you could, yeah. Look, Daniel's gone into celebration mode instantly.
Again,
excellent. Yeah, tell us a little bit about how it was from your perspective, Daniel, please.
Yeah, it went pretty well. I actually had to do only this, what Fred said, 99% out of 200%. The rest was done by Fred. So really thankful for help that Fred did for actually preparing all the infrastructure behind it and trying to sort out issues as we learn. It went pretty well, actually. We planned it as an experiment for our project community. So we plan to reuse the infrastructure or the knowledge for maybe having like a small developer workshop online. The presentations were really interesting from my perspective. Somehow I was picking them myself, more or less. Mainly from what I got as proposals for the edition in Berlin that was cancelled in this spring. Being smaller, we did focus only on Kamailio with the presentation because, as Fred said, this community is great and there are so many nice people that can share information from Free Switch or from Asterix or Janus, Homer. So bringing only one speaker from this project would practically have exceeded the duration. I particularly wanted to have Sandro, and together was also Ole for the security, because now as people moved home, like working from home, I thought it's a good subject to approach. Unfortunately, it was the session that got a bit disrupted, but the recording resumed. As engineer, we had a backup server, so we tried to bring live streaming. I mean, the server was up, just the live streaming didn't work and recording, so then we had to use a secondary without any authentication.
Yeah, if I can jump in for a minute, I think one of the great things about this community, of course, is we all understand to a degree. Maybe, some people understand more than others, but we all understand the moving parts underneath. And so when there are little bits of disruption, I don't think anybody minds that. Whereas if it was a different set of people, the kind of it either works or it doesn't end of the market, they might get a bit more upset. But we know what it takes to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I think there's a degree of cutting people some slack when they actually go the extra mile on putting one of these events on.
And besides this great presentation, open discussion, and 2 live demos, the best part, in my opinion, was the celebration party with nice free discussions, because we started streaming it, but suddenly it stopped when I asked Dan Jenkins about if it's aware of some bugs in WebRTC, because I got some issue on some prototyping I'm doing now with some browsers. So I'm not sure if it's the browser or something else there. And then the system crashed like 3 times in a row, coming back automatically. And then, hey, Dan, I was asking about WebRTC bugs, and then zoom again out.
There was a very good number of people in there for the celebration, wasn't there? Sadly, I couldn't be there in there for the whole time. But just while I was there, I could see the number of people. The pictures were getting smaller, and the number of people was growing. It looked as if everybody was having a good time there.
Yeah, so everyone with a drink or a cake and free discussion about the history, maybe the future. We even got to the level of proposing a new project name because we know the history of the project, and maybe some people got used like every now and then a new name, so we work on rebranding and so on. Of course, doesn't happen, but it was really a friendly and great atmosphere. I mean, I'm really happy that people join it and they find the project ecosystem like a family. From this
Good. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
it was
Oh.
great. I mean, and it was from it was truly worldwide. We had people from different countries within Europe, US, Canada, South America. I don't think we ended up with anyone in Asia Pacific due to timing, but I mean, it was great. It was a real global presence, and people were just happy to share. It was very touching.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for that overview. Now, does anybody either in the room or watching YouTube live have any questions on Kamailio or SIP security for the people on the left-hand side of the conference here, Fred, Daniel, or Sandro? If you do have questions, if there's anybody in the room, Seven or Piotr or Dennis, with any questions, feel free to ask. And if anybody watching on YouTube live is there, come and join us. I've just noticed, by the way, that the link on the YouTube live will bring you into the lobby for our ClueCon video conference solution here. And once you're in the lobby, you just have to look for the ClueCon cafe room and click join, and then you'll be in this very room with us. So any questions for Fred, Daniel, or Sandro? Not seeing anything coming on the chat at the moment. I had a little bit of a question, although it's something that I have asked before, Fred, but I'm just mindful that there might be people watching who have not come across API ban, and Sandro and I managed to mention that in our chat earlier on ClueCon Weekly. But I believe you gave a talk about that at Kamailio World Online.
I did, and Sandro will probably be the first one to describe it. I wouldn't. API ban is a tool. It's certainly not like I would deploy it and not go, oh, woof, crisis averted. It just helps you hide from places that are known to attack you. It seems that one of the attack vectors that goes on with phone systems is to first either do option pings or just flat out registrations or invites and just see who responds. And by you blocking known attackers or known probes before they hit you, it just helps you, keep off a list temporarily. You still might get on it from something that's not hitting one of our honeypots. The goal is to have a ton of honeypots. We have over 40, and they're deployed all throughout the globe. And the goal is to collect active IP addresses that are just scanning and attacking and share those. And, again, it's just a tool. I think the default config of Kamailio really helps with some suggestions on other ways of blocking, such with SQL injection and, user agent. However, if it's a legitimate person, they're changing the user agent anyway. And we also have, discussed, and there's tons of videos and lectures on different ways that you can handle responses. One of the things that I like about having, a software like Kamailio in front of your PBX is that we have more options on how to inspect that SIP and make a response than, let's say, with FreeSwitch or Asterisk, where, if you get a packet, you're going to get a response, right? So it's either going to be, yes, that was a good, and I'm trying the call, or, I answered the call, or that person's not here, or you're going to get a negative response, right? Where, hey, that's a bad address, both of which tells me a good amount of information even if I'm not getting the desired effect, you know. So you telling me something that my registration has failed, you know, and not even a greatly skilled person could probably immediately tell what type of server you have. One, you've already verified that you're a phone server listening on this port, not a phone server, but a SIP server. And then two, with the information you're sending, I probably already have identified perhaps what software you're running and even what version, which would then, in the hands of someone with excellent skills, destroy you, and someone with you know, just a ability to Google, make your life miserable for a little bit. And so this is hopefully trying to mitigate yourself from the script style scan attacks. It's not a targeted attack. It doesn't help in that aspect, but the responses has been really well, and it does help with that traffic, and there is a ton of that traffic out there. So to me, it really helps mitigate some of the consequences of being open to just a general scanner and then losing CPU or software performance.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the points I made when Sandra and I were talking, was about, you know, the API ban approach stops giving house room to the bad guys in the first place. They don't get in. But I think it goes hand in hand with Sandro's approach, which I was very impressed with, which was the principle of making sure that your application is safe in itself. Never mind kind of the network layers, of course, which are also important. Sandro, I wonder if you could speak briefly about the CCW we just recorded in order to whet people's appetites for watching it as and when it comes out on the Free Switch YouTube channel.
Sure. But yeah, first I wanted to mention something. My opinion on API ban and similar tools is that they're great because they filter out the noise that you don't want it to arrive to your server. And if you get attacked anyway, then you know that it's something that you really need to watch out for. It's something probably more targeted attack. So it's, of course, you don't just put API ban or similar solutions and then go home. You need to be able to detect attacks. You need to be able to quickly counter them if need be, and have security protections already there as well in your configurations, of course, and keep your software updated, and so on and so forth. Anyway, let me answer your actual question or your suggestion. So yeah, the CCW that we just recorded was a bit about me, really, but beyond that, I was looking at SIP authentication attacks and focusing on the SIP digest leak, and I tried to make a distinction to make sure that the distinction between man-in-the-middle attack, where the attacker can inspect the network traffic, is a different attack than a SIP digest leak attack. So I tried to make sure that is clear, and show the whole demo of start to finish. So from the time where the attacker finds a SIP extension that they can call, to getting the username and password through an offline password brute force attack using SIP Vicious Pro, and then John the Ripper, which is a very well-known password cracking software used by penetration testers to, of course, I suppose, criminals as well. So yeah.
Yes, thank you for that. Yeah, that is one of the sadnesses, isn't it? That these tools in the right hands can do so much good and be so useful, but in the wrong hands can be so destructive and very frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually,
sword.
I have to give again credits to Sandro, because based on discussion at one of the previous Kamailio World, we had to update a little bit Kamailio config to protect against such attacks when actually the bad actor is next hop in a way or another and can try to challenge, because the main or one of the main exposed elements are the smartphones, which have a limited interface and they don't really ask for user interaction on different actions. So practically you can challenge with any realm, right? And then you can just use the password which is set for the server. So this realm, it's a good concept, but somehow not followed correctly always. And yeah, I'm really glad that Sandro is around all these open source projects and give us suggestions.
Yes.
Spending
Yeah.
time on finding all these potential problems, either in the code, in the config, and so on. So really, I'm really appreciating the work he does for the industry, especially for the open source.
That's right. So I think we can all agree that Sandro is a man whose heart is in the right place and who's so helpful in these circumstances. And we're drawing towards, and we've got 10 minutes left of this ClueCon Live. And I wanted to say hello to Seven above me. Seven is joining us from China. What's going on over there at the moment, Seven?
What's going on in China?
Well, Justin, I know that you work on the Free Switch project in various ways. What have you been up to recently?
Yeah, recently I'm doing some video stuff with Tony. That there's some playing YouTube video. We found that some video had really bad syncing problem. I'm working with Tony to try to get that work.
Oh, that sounds very, very useful indeed. Because as we move to
I have branch that Tony is testing, but still we have some problem. We haven't got there.
Great. Well, we're very grateful for your contribution, because in the world of video, especially with the latencies, there's some things that you can't change, and latencies from one part of the world to the other, although they're shrinking, they can never really go away because of the speed of light and stuff like that. So we're grateful for your work there. We've also got Dennis on the call. Dennis is in South Africa and works on Free Switch, but has got neither a mic nor a camera at the moment, and so he's come in with no video or sound. But we're grateful to have you along, Dennis. I hope that next time you join us, we'll be able to see you or at least hear you. That would be good. Seven, did you have any questions for any of the Kamailio people or for Piotr on the stir shaken stuff?
Yeah, actually, I have. I want to ask that Daniel, that how long will you get stir shaken added in Kamailio?
So it's not very long. I think somewhere by end of February I had it. I somehow planned it before the Christmas to work on it. I had a few attempts to maybe go on doing in C like Piotr did it. I ended up doing most of it in Golang because I wanted to play a little bit with Golang as a language for writing extension for C application, because their latest version you can have this plugin or share objects generation. So the library, it's written in Golang and then a small wrapper in Kamailio to make the module. And by that, in Golang it was also very easy to have this similar tool where you can also listen on HTTPS, and you can use a client from any like older Kamailio, as we have a HTTP client module, or from any other VoIP application that can execute an external tool. and do this sort of validation. So not to pressure on upgrading if you're running a stable old Kamailio. Again, was from 2 planes, learning a bit about Golang extensions for C application, as well as getting myself a bit more familiar with what Golang can do. It's rapid development. On the other hand, the result of the shared object library, it's kind of embedding everything. So it's kind of large file, even if you have a small amount of code, but it's like everything embedded in. And yeah, so you have the web server embedded in, you have the client embedded in, you have the SSL implementation, the JWT implementation, and it's important, you don't need any other library to have it running. But maybe I will have a look at Piotr's, because it looks quite extensive. It's not only what he presented now. I was checking before, and also I saw parts at the KubeCon event. We'll see how we go in the future. In Europe, is not big pressure on this still shaken. Not sure about UK, but like continental Europe, Germany, France, what I'm aware, maybe because of better legislation, this robocalling, call ID spoofing, it's not a pressure. So it's not for very long, not much experience for running it in production. A couple of US guys prototyping with it, and we know that it's somehow mandatory for the big carriers at this moment, but everyone tries to prepare for the future. We did some interop testing with other projects. I'll try to do it with FreeSwitch when I get a bit of time in the next weeks or so. We'll see.
Did that answer your
Okay,
question
cool.
there, Seven?
Yes. But it leads to another question. That you said you want to build, you want to link Golang with C in Kamailio.
Yeah, so the Golang, the latest version, not that recent, so probably at least 2 years, you have the option to create shared library. It's what practically a Kamailio module is, or libSSL comes as a shared module. And with Golang, you have some features that are embedded in the core of the language. You don't need to use other libraries. So SSL TLS is part of the core. HTTP as a protocol, server client is part of the core of the language, JSON handling, and so on. So from that perspective, makes it easier, because sometimes with C, you have so many options for JSON, just as an example. You have sys JSON, you have JSON, you have JSON C. Sometimes it's a little bit harder to figure out what's the right one. So I thought maybe Golang for different purposes might be a choice of rapid development, and I tried to experiment with still shaken, and it was successful from my perspective.
Yeah, it looked cool, but I have tried that. I have a model in FreeSwitch called Model Go, and I'm trying to buy Golang and FreeSwitch. But I read some it is said that Golang and C calling each other, they have some serious performance issue that natively it's hard to resolve. So maybe you will have a performance problem.
I try to keep it separate in the way that, again, I let pretty much everything in Go, and I don't rely on states that much to share between processes. Of course, maybe with the as we roll it out, we'll figure out some issues. So, but at this moment, I don't have. Actually, I have more problems with managing with the C libraries like libSSL or other libraries that they change the API from version to version. With the Golang, seems again like you compile, it's everything in, and that's it. It's like static compilation. We'll see. I don't have like an extensive experience on that.
Yeah, if you make SO that dynamically loaded library, that could be okay. But if you calling C function and go each other, there gone some problem maybe. But let's see, and it looked cool, right?
Great. Thank you very much, Seven. Oh, looks like we got Sharon joined as well. Hi, Sharon. Piotr, you raised your hand. I think you've got something to say there.
Yeah, thank you very much for noticing that, David. Yes, Daniel, if you maybe you partially answered that question, but how do you interface from Golang to SSL?
So again, Golang has its own implementation of TLS. You don't need to practically use libSSL or something else. It's independent, it's embedded, it's by the core developers of Golang.
Did you find then how to call that X509 certification path routine from the Go, or maybe you just skip? You are skipping that for now, maybe.
Practically everything it's done in Golang. I just export and call from Kamailio module. The Kamailio module is really small. Okay, we have the Kamailio interface, which is most of the part, but then I don't call any kind of feature related to still shaken in Kamailio C code. If I need it, I'll do it in Go and just have a. Sorry.
Yeah, I think you may be skipping this X509 certification path check on the certificate you download, or you don't. Do you do this path verification in your current implementation with Go?
What do you mean by path?
You know, the one of the steps of verification service is to perform the X509 path verification path check on a certificate. It checks if the SP certificate comes from one of the certificates that you trust, one of the CAs. So it basically does what OpenSSL X509 CA file.
Yeah, that's automatically. You have flags in Golang when you use the function to ignore if the certificate is not trusted or do full chain validation. So again, it's practically just a matter of flags. I would be surprised not to have full implementation in Golang, considering that they focus on security a lot with that language and have the HTTPS embedded inside the core of the language. So, but I'll have to check the terms a little bit. Long time since I implemented it, but in terms of SSL, TLS, they have certificates. They have like 9. I'm pretty sure they have like 100% implementation of the standards.
Do you have any plans, Daniel, to support out-of-band shaken in Kamailio?
I haven't looked to it, so again, I push it there based on the feedback on US. So far, nobody asked. Personally, I don't run it in Europe anywhere, but as we get requests.
Right now, this does seem to be a mainly US-centric thing, and I just want to mention yet another community member called Jim Dalton from Transnexus. They're a carrier that have been kind of at the leading edge of doing some stir shake and stuff as well. Gentlemen, we've come to the end of our time together. Is there any closing remarks from anybody?
Keep everyone good work. I see all the people that I know, they share with everyone, they help each other, and I'm glad to see everyone here.
That is one of the beautiful things of community, isn't it? And by the way, I'd like to remind everybody that we're here in this very room every Friday at 10 a.m. Central Time, US. And all of you here are very welcome to drop in any time at all, next week or the week after or every week. And we're very grateful to have you along. And for you watching on the live stream on YouTube, thank you for watching. But come and join us next time. Where else could you hang out with these open source rock star types in here talking about all this stuff? But the great thing is they're all very, very nice people and, just desiring to help, which is a great thing. So I'm going to say bye-bye to you. I'm going to go left to right, top to bottom. So bye-bye, Fred in Florida. Thank you for coming along. Bye-bye, Seven in China. Thank you. Bye-bye, Piotr in Basingstoke, England. Bye-bye, Daniel in Berlin. Bye-bye, Dennis in South Africa. Bye-bye, Sandro in Berlin, I think. Is that right? Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. And bye-bye, Sharon, who's in the bottom. And Sharon is going to click the button to stop the live stream. So thank you very much, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye. Okay, and there you go.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Thank you.
You too.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining, Seven. Thank you. To Piotr as well.
Thank you.